During the 2020 Overwatch League playoffs, the Washington Justice suddenly rose to relevancy due to a shift in the Overwatch meta. With recent Hog changes that have since been adjusted, a meta consisting of running Roadhog and Zarya in the tank slots had arisen. With no barriers, the composition relied on both Ashe getting a pick and Roadhog landing a crucial hook. Despite various pro players voicing their lack of confidence in the composition, it was run in the Overwatch League nonetheless. Today, we're going to be looking at the Washington Justice's usage of the comp during their run through the playoffs, and how they managed to utilize the tank line to its utmost potential. Heading into the first fight between the Dallas Fuel and the Washington Justice on Lijiang Tower, we will get to see just the type of pressure this composition can force onto the opponent. As both teams head onto the high ground above the point to start poking, Stitch and Arc head around the right of the point to set up a potential flank, in case the Fuel push and claim space from the Justice. Whilst not having a barrier is a rough time for hit scans in general, this flaw is minimized by having a Mercy pocket you at all times. The range at which Ashe operates allows for tempo resurrections, which can render a pick from the enemy entirely useless. Rounding the corner, Stitch finds Crimzo lagging behind the rest of his team ever so slightly, and quickly dispatches him. The Fuel surge forward to control the space between the Justice and the point, and push Washington back towards their choke. While backpedaling, Janu throws a hook and catches Note's mech, bringing it to half. On the way out, DK gets caught on the wall and eliminated by Gamsu, but Janu manages to complete his unfinished work and takes out Note's mech. Simultaneously, Paintbrush boops Aim God off the map and Tuba kills Ani God in their backline. With no translocator available, Doha eliminates Tuba quickly and Janu finally finishes off Note. It is at this point in time that the Fuel has a functioning death ball consisting of Rhine, Reaper, and Lucio, whilst Washington has a single frontline Roadhog and an Ashe Mercy on the flank. If the Fuel were to rotate back to the point, they would hold superior position in defense of the point, allowing Crimzo on main heals to rejoin. However, there is still a looming danger in the back that must be addressed before a safe retreat can occur, and an angry Hog pressuring the front. Doha and Paintbrush abandon Gamsu right as the pocket duo in the back start to pincer themselves in. Janu presses forward, breaks Gamsu's shield, and Gamsu melts. Stitch then tosses a well-placed dynamite which flushes out the remaining Fuel members. That pincer maneuver then allows the three original remaining Justice members to simply walk onto the point for the capture. Having no barrier on the side of the Justice means that both tanks can create space by playing as a DPS, always posing a huge threat to the front line and forcing the enemy barrier to stay up, or risk a teammate getting hooked. Now let's take a look at what happens when the San Francisco Shock, the current contenders for back-to-back Grand Champions, try to run a mirror tank line against the Justice. Heading into King's Row, we can see mostly identical compositions outside of the Justice deciding to run a Tracer, as opposed to the traditional Sombra. This decision can be likely boiled down to the Justice wanting more urgency in the enemy backline, as well as a consistent close-range finisher for Janu's hooks. Starting the poke fight, the Justice begins to rotate around the statue into the Clock Tower entrance area. During the move, Stitch manages to pick off Ons under the archway, which eliminates most of the pressure being applied to the Justice's tanks. While the resurrection is being cast, Janu and Decay see their opportunity to move forward, and it becomes a game of tanks. Whoever lands the initial hook will displace the enemy team to such a degree that it guarantees a fight-winning pick. Choi Hyo-bin casts his attempt and whiffs. Janu throws his in and manages to snag Choi. Breaking Smurf's bubble, followed by a simple follow-up purple from Aim God, ensures Choi receives no healing from his breather. DK focuses fire on the purple pig and Choi disintegrates. While all of this is happening, Tuba has all the space in the universe to make his way into the Shock's backline and eliminate Moth, and the rest of the Shock falls shortly after. An entire fight won from a single hook. Moving on to the next engagement, the Shock are looking to hold the Justice on the street's face before any sort of snowball can occur. While peeking the bookshop corner, Smurf uses his personal bubble prematurely, forcing him to take a backseat to Choi, who still has his take a breather up. As Choi Hyo-bin hugs the cart, Janu jumps off of the cart in an attempt to hook him, but misses. Smurf nonetheless still uses his bubble in anticipation of a follow-up damage, but it bursts immediately. Choi, rotating damage mitigation moves, uses his take-a-breather to act as a stand-in damage sponge, but Aim God counters it with a perfectly timed Bionade. This is the Justice's tank line's cue to hold W and reclaim space from the Shock. In a last resort attempt to reverse the tide of the battle, Rascal engages with the intention to EMP. However, Aim God lands an unbelievable sleep on Rascal mid-cast, and it is cancelled. As the Justice approach the factory entrance, the Shock set up for a last-second contest. At this point, they know that the initial hook is everything, and really is their only chance at stopping the Justice's momentum. Knowing this, Choi Hyo-bin jumps out of cover and immediately gets hooked. Despite the bubble and counter-hook, Choi explodes, and Smurf is left alone on the point to follow up on a grab that has only netted a nano decay. In what can only be described as a rolling disaster, Smurf is eliminated after whiffing his grab, Rascal gets slept and killed, Moth uses Valk and dies, and Bob doesn't do something. This fight is a go next for Shock, and they begin to set up for their last point hold. As the cart rounds the first bend of Factory, Choi Hyobin saunters up to the front line in search of a potential hook. Looking into the Mega Room, he throws his hook towards Stitch but finds nothing. Janu, hearing the empty chains, takes his chance to turn the corner and again land a hook onto Choi. Choi instantly explodes despite the well-timed bubble from Smurf, and yet again the Shock are left hogless. Following this opener, Stitch sends Bob in, effectively giving Justice 5 DPS characters and a 7v5 advantage. Needless to say, the Justice push the cart onto the point and secure the map, achieving the third fastest attack time on King's Row in Overwatch League history. This push goes to show just how important that initial hook can be, and how sometimes it's better to disregard that unwritten never hook first commandment. When played correctly, Zarya Hog can be a devastating combination no matter what map you're on. When your Hog is in danger, they get a bubble. When your Zarya is in danger, the attention is on someone else and you get a free hook. Add in the additional elements of a Pocket Ash and you've got yourself a high-pressure, pick-centric comp going. With this tank line being so pokey and dangerous, giving up any sort of space can be a death sentence. And with the state of barriers in the game currently, anyone is susceptible to being hooked or beamed down at any time. And that's all we have for today's episode of Behind the Action. What do you think about Hog Zarya? Is it even going to be relevant after the balance tweaks? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. A huge thank you to everybody on this list, and shout out to Arknox, Sammy, Shampoo, Weeaboo, Nathan, Nate, and Mauve for being Platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Raffi, Joe the Butt, and Noodles for being Diamond supporters. Thank you so much guys, the support has been amazing. If you also want to support our channel and unlock perks, check out the Patreon link in the description below, or become a member of our Discord community. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Nikita, and thank you for watching.